I spent my whole life wishing I was somewhere else, and then, when I was somewhere else, all I wanted to do was come home again. Welcome to the world of histrionics, incredible tales from before the now. My name is Herbert, and I was raised on a farm in Tappendale in Cheshire. The farm was very peaceful, very quiet, and very boring. There was absolutely nothing to do but look after the animals, wash them, feed them, take away their poo, and then spend the hours of the day, I don't know, going for a walk in the woods and listening out for a woodpecker or none, and then sitting around in a field and doing nothing all day. I was also surrounded by grown-ups, which is very boring, all of us crammed into a tiny farmhouse. There was me, and then of course there was me mum, then there was me nana, me granddad, me auntie Mary, who was the caretaker of the farm, and thankfully, Uncle Henry. And Uncle Henry had been in the army, and he made it sound like so much fun. Stories of adventures in faraway places, having loads and loads of great fun with his mates. Oh, it sounded brilliant, wonderful. He used to carve me little wooden figures for my birthday and for Christmas, little wooden ones, only about that big, soldiers and things. And we used to take them out into the fields and pretend that the other armies were made of daisies, fighting the ones made of buttercups, and the dandelion clocks were the explosions. Done. It was no surprise then that I didn't want to become a farmer. I was a butcher for a bit when I was old enough, and a forester, and then in 1914, war broke out. Now, you lot call it the First World War, or World War One. We didn't know there was going to be more than one, though, so we called it the Great War, or the War to End All Wars. There's lots of war, and there was lots of war to go around, all around the entire world. Essentially, all of the countries of the world, well, most of them, had a massive falling out and a huge fight. You see, they had been spending absolutely ages making empires and then huge gangs. 2 huge gangs, but made up of countries instead of people. One gang was called the Allies, and that was countries like Britain and France and Russia. And the other gang was called the Central Powers, and that was countries like Austro-Hungary and Germany and the Ottoman Empire. Those 2 gangs hated each other, and all it would take was one teeny tiny spark for a whole fire to engulf the entire world as all of those countries fell out. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, yes. You see, a man with a very fancy name called Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was going to be the new leader of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, decided to go on a little tour around Bosnia. He went to Sarajevo in an open-top car and toured the city. And some Serbians didn't like him at all. They wanted him out. So they decided to try and kill him. 7 of them tried to kill him. And as he was driving along, the first one did nothing. But the second assassin threw a bomb into his car. Archduke Franz Ferdinand caught the bomb, and threw it back out of the car again, and it landed in a different car, exploded, and accidentally injured 8 completely innocent people. Oh dear. So, the third assassin did nothing. The fourth assassin, though, did nothing. And neither did the 5th or the 6th. Archduke Franz Ferdinand carried on with his tour, but then felt a bit guilty about those people that got injured in that car and decided to go to the hospital. But his driver didn't know where it was. They got lost and accidentally drove into a small courtyard where, wouldn't you know it, assassin number 7 was having a cup of coffee in a cafe. He saw in the mirror inside the cafe the reflection of the car behind him. He turned around, saw it was the Archduke, pulled his gun, went up and killed him. And that shot was to start the whole of the Great War. You see, Austro-Hungary was very upset because this guy was going to be their leader, the Archduke. They blamed Serbia because the assassins were from Serbia. Serbia apologised, but it wasn't enough, and Austro-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Oh yes, Germany were friends with Austro-Hungary, so they helped out with Serbia. Serbia were friends with Russia, so Russia declared war on Austro-Hungary and Germany. France were friends with Russia, so France declared war on Germany as well, and Germany decided to try and march through Belgium to get to France, and Britain was friends with Belgium, so we declared war on Germany. Right, got it? No. It's chaos, absolute chaos. All of a sudden, within moments it seemed, the entire world was at war. Everyone thought it'd be over by Christmas, but they were wrong. It went on for 4 more years. But me, at the time in 1914, I didn't know that. I just wanted the adventure. It sounded exciting. So I went to Preston with a group of my mates and we joined up. Now, I remember saying to the recruiting sergeant, Sergeant Trotter, that I'd been brought up on a farm, which meant I was very strong and very muscly, and I could help. Oh yes, help the soldiers, absolutely. I wasn't afraid of hard work. Sergeant Trotter said, yeah, I see that. Well, I see that you're very strong, very muscly. You do a lot of work with animals, do you, boy? And I said, well, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, yes, there was a farm that I grew up on. Don't know if I mentioned it at all, several million times. He said, oh, I don't need to be cheeky. So I reckon you could be a dab hand at being a driver in the Royal Field Artillery. Yeah. Now, if you don't know, the Royal Field Artillery essentially is horses manned by men, drivers, looking after the horses, and we pull the guns and the cannons that get used. And we carry the shells, not seashells, sadly, but they are the sort of missiles, if you like, that get loaded into the cannons and the guns and blasted across the battlefield. It's quite dangerous work. The horses carry 9 whole shells on them in little canvas saddles. They've got 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and another one right on their back. So, there I was, Royal Field Artillery. I couldn't wait. I now had joined the army. Here was my chance to have adventures and do brand new things. All I'd done on the farm was lay around all day, do nothing. And I had washed animals, feed animals and take away their poo. And now I was a member of the Royal Field Artillery, looking after the horses, washing them, feeding them and taking away their poo. It was the same thing. I didn't mind though, really. I quite liked horses. There were plenty of on the farm and I was used to them. And our first adventure was actually quite exciting. We left Britain on the 7th of June 1915, sailing all the way to Egypt. I'd never been on a proper big boat before, and I was working under the impression that boats go on the water and don't let the water in. I've had a bath. I know that if you put water in a toy boat, it sinks. So I didn't expect water to be in the boat. But there was water everywhere. There was water in the cabins, there was water in the deck, there was water in the bilges, on purpose. A special place for the water to be in, intentionally. What's that about? One particular storm? Water got in one of the storerooms. We were worried that it was going to wreck all of the food. But luckily, all of the food was in tins. There was tins of corned beef and bully beef and vegetables and biscuits. There was tins of marmalades and jam. There was tins of milk and coffee and tea and even some lemon sherbet. But it didn't harm any of the food. The tins were tightly sealed and the water didn't get in. All it did was wash all of the labels off. My friend John said, well, there you go. There's your adventure, Herbert. I have absolutely no idea what we're going to be eating for the next 4 weeks. And he was right. You want breakfast? Oh, fancy a bit of corned beef for breakfast? Oh, no, it's lemon sherbet. Oh, I'm so parched I could fancy a drink of tea right now. Oh, no, it's gravy. Thick and viscous. Beefy. It made it quite exciting and every meal was an adventure. And then, after we'd been to Egypt, we sailed again. I was thinking it was going to be another great, exciting time. We sailed to Gallipoli. And that was a different boat ride altogether. I wasn't quite sure how to say it to start with, Gallipoli, but Gallipoli, in Turkey, as part of the Ottoman Empire. We knew that they were our enemies, so we were going to fight. Now, some people from Australia and New Zealand had been there a great deal longer than we had, and they'd suffered quite a lot. The Turks were very well armed, had loads of ammunition, and were fighting on beaches that they knew. We all thought it was going to be lovely and hot and a great big holiday, and our boat sailed into tremendous gunfire, machine guns firing over 600 rounds per minute at the boats. Some of them got blown to bits, some of them got punctured and started to sink, some of them got overturned. I saw 2 chaps in the water with an overturned lifeboat, a hole poked through so they could see, pretending to slowly float toward the beach. And our boats, and many, many others with the horses and the artillery on them, got stuck on sandbanks 80 yards from the beach, all the while under heavy fire. We could see blokes jumping off of the boats with their rifles, holding them over their heads and wading through the water, going as fast as they could. But we couldn't go as fast as we could because we'd got the horses. We had to go slowly through the water, through the sucking mud, up through the sand of the beach, all the while the explosions and smoke all around us and so many bullets in the air, it was like a rainstorm. So many bullets in the air that they were hitting each other. And we waded through the water and the sand and the mud, dragging 1 horse or 2 each. All of those horses loaded with 9 live shells for guns. It was terrifying. I did eventually manage to get to the beach. 17 of our lads hadn't been so lucky, but generally speaking, we were all right. I got there and got prepared to run up to one of the trenches, and then I hear shouting and waving. It's my mate. Robert, come over here. What are the falls? You've got to help me. I ran over and straight away I saw it. A fall. And now if you don't know, a fall is a baby. It was against Army and Navy regulations for horses to give birth, but the horses can't read, so nobody had told them. And there, on that beach, in the middle of that fight, a horse was having a baby. I thought it'd been bad enough going through all of those bullets in the sea, trying to get to the beach. I was going to run for cover. But now, here was a horse needing our help. Me, my friend John, and another lad called Pete, who we'd worked on farms before, so we knew exactly what to do. Beautiful little baby girl horse was born right there on that beach in the middle of all that war. And I straight away thought of the farm. I straight away thought of the animals and the peace and the quiet and, you know, most importantly, the outside. Here I was, rushing around all the time, desperate for adventure, excitement, speed, fast-paced action. And all the time, all I wanted to do from now on was just sit down and relax. Maybe go and feed the animals, go for a walk in the woods, maybe listen out for a woodpecker, or sit down in a field and do nothing. How lucky had I been, desperate for adventure, desperate to prove myself I had forgotten all of those things that nature provides. In the end, I was very lucky. I caught malaria and I had to go home. I had to go back to Tatton, back to the park, back to the village, to enjoy peace and quiet. It can be something we forget is even there. From that moment on, I started to go for long walks and I explored whole areas of woodland that I'd never even been to. What were we doing? Fighting, running around, trying to be the best. Just enjoy what's there. Love what's around you. Enjoy nature and explore it on your own. And just slow down and live. Do you know one thing that I got quite excited about? I heard that when the troops left Gallipoli, they wanted to distract the Ottomans and the Turks from firing at them. So they had a massive game of cricket to distract the army. You imagine that? You're absolutely, totally and utterly focused on destroying the enemy, and all of a sudden a game of cricket pops up. The Turks get completely confused and stop shooting to watch. So you see, there are some things that bring us all together after all. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much indeed for listening for my tale of Gallipoli. If you have enjoyed it, feel free to research it on the internet. And if you're not old enough to look on there by yourself, make sure a grown-up is with you. And also, if you have liked this histrionics History at Home video, make sure to check out other ones on the site as well. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care of each other. Enjoy the outside. And stay safe.